What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Doc and Dog presented by the Fantasy Holics. We are in the middle of our shortstop mini series where we are going through our top 25 shortstops. In today's episode, we are going to talk about numbers 16 through 20. My name is Jordan Jaika, aka Dr. Fantasy, and I am here with my co host Rydawg. And we are excited about this shortstop mini series, a very deep position. So, without any further ado, we'll just jump right into it. Number 20, today we're talking about Dansby Swanson. Last season, he had a 251 average, 77 runs scored, 17 home runs, 65 RBIs, and 10 steals. And I was surprised to see how low he was going in drafts this year, and it just seems kind of odd to have him at number 20, but which is a very fair ranking for him. You had him 19, I had him 22, so right around the same range. It just
Yeah,
feels so weird for a former number one overall pick. You feel like he should be ranked
yeah,
much higher. He had, and I'll let you. I know you've talked about before how he had a tale of two halves last year, but he showed last year he has the ability to be really good, but he just hasn't been able to put together a full season yet. So it's still hard to trust him. He still has the ability there. He's in a very strong lineup, but I still can't trust him to be my starting shortstop. I wouldn't mind, stashing him and hoping that he goes through a hot streak, but he just hasn't shown the consistent ability over the course of a whole season yet.
yeah. That's the thing. Luckily, he's still young. I believe Dansby's only 25, so he definitely has time to put together healthy seasons. He was gonna, and this may sound crazy, he was definitely going to have a 90 RBI season, 25 home runs. I mean, the average could have been a different thing, but he found his bat. He finally found the pop that he's been looking for since he got drafted from Vanderbilt back in 2015. The one thing that he definitely has always had was his glove. And his glove is, I mean, it's not fantasy relevant, of course, but his glove is just phenomenal. And if you like watching defensive defensive baseball as much as I do, you definitely appreciate the art it is. But Dansby Swanson, he's gonna, with them adding with Ozuna, I think they're gonna be all right. I think he's gonna have to put together a healthy season, and he definitely has all the tools in the world to succeed. And I think he finally found his bat, like I said last year. And I think if he can stay healthy all year long, he's going to put together a 25-90 season.
Yeah. Number 19 in our rankings is Corey Seager. I was a little higher on him than you. I had him 15. You had him 21st. But overall, I'm much higher on him than other people. Last season, he batted 272, 82 runs scored, 19 home runs, 87 RBIs, only one steal. Obviously, the Dodgers have a really strong lineup, which really helps me like him. I think the only reason he goes lower than his stats suggest is just because his expectations coming through the minors were crazy. I mean, he was a top five prospect, and he was supposed to be the next great shortstop. And although he hasn't been that thus far in his career, I mean, he still puts up great numbers. I mean, if you can get a guy that's going to touch close to 90 RBIs, 20 to 25 home runs, bat solid 275, 280, I mean, there's still a lot of value in that, and he's in a strong lineup. He has every opportunity to succeed. So I'm higher on him than most because I think he's in a good situation. He's still young enough where he can keep improving, and I like him as a mid-tier shortstop too.
Yeah, and I think why Seager falls a lot. I think his injury history just kills him. Like it seems like every year he misses a whole bunch of games. And I think that's the problem with him and Swanson. I mean, those guys get healthy, they're definitely gonna get back to expectations, and they'll be all right. And I think both of them could potentially see top 15 shortstop numbers. I couldn't put them in the top 10 because shortstop's just too deep to the
Mm-hmm.
point where even if they do get healthy and they exceed expectations, it's just too deep to the point where you couldn't put them in the top 10.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Number 18 is Alberto Mondesi from the Royals. I had him 19th, you had him 16th. Last season, he batted 263, 58 runs scored, 9 home runs, 62 RBIs, and 43 stolen bases. He's one of the fastest players in Major League Baseball right now. But I mean, he reminds me too much of Billy Hamilton. You know, the average is better than what Billy Hamilton was able to put together, but Mondesi is historically terrible at getting on base. And I saw a few metrics where within the past 100 years, he had one of the highest whiff percentages, and he struggled to get on base more than anybody else in the past 100 years. So, I mean, he is historically bad at getting on base. So, I'm not big on these guys that only offer one category of value. So I mean, he offers a lot of value in the steals section, but he's also struggled with injury. So if he goes down, I mean, you kind of wasted a pick because he's not getting you many home runs, not driving in a ton of runs, not a high average, not scoring a ton of runs. So I mean, I'm not into the guys that are one trick ponies, and to me, he is so bad at getting on base that I just can't buy into him.
Yeah, and and I'll touch up on it on Mondesi as well. He's overdrafted so much. He's, like you said, he's a one trick pony. But also the fact that Royals lineup, it's really not deep at all. So like hypothetically, I mean, even if he could get on base, but you can't, who's going to drive him in? I mean, Salvador Perez is coming back. I do like me some Salvador Perez. They just don't have a lot of talent in that lineup except maybe a couple players. So, and the 260 average for a guy that's going in like the 5th, 6th round, I believe, and Dynasty and Redraft, it's just too much. I would rather waste the pick on one of those top 5 shortstops we're going to discuss later this week than getting him at his ADP. And for me, I don't like one trick ponies. I completely agree. He's just not that good, in my opinion.
Yeah, right now his ADP on Yahoo is 48. So I mean, you mentioned it going right in that 5th round range, late 4th
Yeah.
actually, the last pick in the 4th round in 12-team format. So I mean, he's going ahead of top pitchers like Chris Paddock, Luis Castillo, Giolito. I mean, I'd rather take those guys all day long, and it's kind of shocking to me how high he's going right now.
Hey, what's Machado's ADP on that, Doc?
Machado, I don't have his in front of me. Last I checked, he was in the 70s range.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta be fucking crazy to take Mondesi, who offers one category, over Machado, who offers 4 out of the 5.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Get out of here. Come on. It
People
just
get
shows how
obsessed with
crazy.
that speed. I don't know. People are obsessed with it.
Just grab my boy Trey or Tatis. Waste the pick. Get someone that does all 5. People are just crazy to me, Doc. Taking him at 48.
Yeah,
Get
no,
out of here.
I wouldn't take him. Till, I don't know, past pick 100 probably.
And that's even reaching for sure.
Yeah, I would say so. Next in our rankings, number 17 is Mets shortstop Ahmed Rosario. I had him 17th. You had him 18th. Last season, he batted 287, which was really surprising to a lot of people. 75 runs scored, 15 home runs, 72 RBIs, 19 stolen bases. He had a really strong second half last year. I really enjoyed watching him. I mentioned this in our Mets mini series, but they have a young Andres Jimenez in the minors coming up. So I think Rosario right now is fighting for his spot in the future with the Mets. So I expect him to continue to come out strong. And for fantasy purposes, he's a big guy. He's lanky. He's starting to grow into that frame a little bit. I mean, he's been with the Mets organization since he was 16. So I still think he can get to 20 home runs. And he had 19 steals last year. So I still think he has 2020 potential going kind of as a back end shortstop too right now. So I think he offers a lot of value, and I think the upside is still there.
I completely agree. I like Rosario a lot. We both had him ranked around the same. I mean, it's just tough. I mean, I would like to put him higher, but I just can't. The names that we're going to discuss later today just excite me a little bit more. And it just goes to show how deep shortstop really is, as we've been saying throughout the whole week.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I was like, man, I want to put my boy Rosario higher, but you can't. You start looking like, okay, am I going to put him ahead of Bichette or Polanco, Correo, Simeon? And I just couldn't.
You can't. And that's the thing. I remember like 3 years ago, even a little late, even a little earlier, shortstops were such a weak and hard position to find really good value at, right? And now, and the same with catchers, and now the trend is starting to go the opposite way. Third baseman and first baseman seems like it's getting tougher to find. and you're also getting deeper in shortstops and deeper in catchers. So it looks like they're flip flopping a little bit in terms of depthness.
Yeah, I would agree. Then last in this installment, number 16 is White Sox shortstop Tim Anderson. You had him a little higher than me at 14. I had him at 18. Last season, he batted 335, which led all shortstops. 81 runs scored, 18 home runs, 56 RBIs, 17 steals. So the reason that I have him lower than most people is I think the 335 was a little fluky, and I think most people would agree with that. But I think he's more of a 280 hitter, and that's 55 points lower than last season. But based on the metrics that I've read, I think he's closer to a 280 hitter. So to me, I look at it, if you're getting a guy with 15 to 20 home runs, 15 steals, a 280 average, I think that's more appropriate to rank them right around Rosario. I think they're pretty comparable, both lineups. I'd say the Mets have a semi stronger lineup, not too much, but I think both of those guys are super comparable. But to me, I just don't have as much faith in Tim Anderson as others, and that's why I have him ranked lower.
Yeah, and I have him ranked 14th. I mean, the 335. I mean, come on, let's be real. He's not going to do that again. He's definitely a 285, 290 hitter, and I actually like what they're doing in the White Sox organization. I think the RBIs could even possibly come up with the addition of Luis Robert and getting Eloy for a whole year. So I think that lineup will definitely get stronger as those young guys start to get more at bats, and with Mardi Gras possibly coming up whenever. So I think the average will definitely come down, but the RBIs could possibly maybe come up a few.
Yep. For sure. So that's all that we have for today's episode. Those were shortstops ranked 16 through 20. So thank you guys for watching. This has been another episode of Doc and Dog presented by the Fantasy Holics. If you don't already, make sure you like the Fantasy Holics on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at FantasyHolics1. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, which has lots of NFL, NBA, and MLB content. And check out our new website at thefantasyholics.com. So once again, thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.